What's happening?
What's up?
Rocking and rolling, man. Just feel like been running and gunning. Had a great couple days with taking a few folks through the strategic planning process. It's like kind of what we do at KT, but like really deep. Being able to go through and working through and one of the things that kind of stood out, and love your take on this because just of how you've designed things. We really got into that question. What does it have to look like for you to stay committed for a period of time? And one of the biggest things that jumped out from these guys kind of going through it was the first thing was I'm not willing to sacrifice my time with my son. He's got one of the guys has a really young son, and he's been able to spend a lot of time with him. Takes him to off to daycare and everything in the mornings, and just has that quality time routine. And it's just like was not willing to create or design something that sacrifices those moments, that time. And so when you start to look at it and you start to design how you want it to be, and we'll love your take on kind of designing and what you're not willing to compromise with or willing to sacrifice with. And I asked the other his business partner, I asked him, because he works with a lot of the newer or newly licensed agents. And I said, what who's having success, who's not? And he said, the ones that have gotten real clear on what they're willing to do and not willing to do and designing it around that are having the most success. And I was like, that's interesting. And so I know, like, even for you, on some of the things and non-negotiables and how you structure things and what you're willing to do and not do, and how has that, like, even for you, kind of the output with life, with family, with with business, kind of getting real clear on that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot. I can see how newly licensed agents, especially like when I was new, I was like, I'll go everywhere. I'll do anything. I'll go to any area. I'll drive. If I have to drive 3 hours, whatever, I'll do stuff in the car while I'm driving, and I would sacrifice that time. But once you kind of get narrowed down, as far as like my family and stuff is concerned, like, especially in the last few years, it's just gotten real clear where, like, I will not, like, I'm home every morning. I will have breakfast with my kids. I will take them to school. It'll be easier this coming year because my 2 older kids are going to be going to the same school, so same time. But and I will do that 90% of the time. If I'm out of town or something, my wife will take them. But that's just time I enjoy with them. It's a good time to really, just narrow down and you have their attention. You could talk to them about things. If I add that up cumulatively over the last few years, like, gosh, it's a ton of time. It's probably going to end up being a big percentage of their lives that I got to spend with them. When you think about it that way.
Yeah.
And then, I'm home in the evenings. There's some, sometimes it's a little bit later, but I'm always there. I won't jeopardize that. We have a 13, 11, and now a 3-year-old. And so, having the 3-year-old was kind of it kind of made me realize, wow, that time is really going fast with our other 2. It's really slowed me down more to where I'm really just present, because I realize how fast that goes. Like, time flies, man. And the older you get, the faster it goes. And now I'm much more even present in his life than I was with our other 2 when they were that age. And I wouldn't give it up for anything. I would never take a job where, I would just never do anything where I was like just robbed of that time, where I had to travel a lot. There's just no way. It's not worth it.
No, you look at the trade-off, and just even myself, right? You look at my older 2, and definitely, like you said, sometimes you got to mess it up to realize what's really priority, what's valuable, what's important and what's not. And, I think having those moments, and like, even for you, you think back just even, I mean, when did the damn hurricane hit? Was it last year? Was it a year ago now?
In September 28th, it'll be a year. So we're right at about almost 10, actually. Yeah. Shit. Right around 10 months.
That's crazy. Right. And just how much has changed in the last 10 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something like we really had to take a step back too. It's like, you just have to evaluate what's important. And it's like, man, that was a lot of family time right there that wasn't planned, but it's like we had to come together and figure it out, and so, just the hurricane. I mean, we're still dealing with that because, like I'm in a guest room of our rental house right now, because of the damage. But it's just, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's like at the time, man, it seemed like the world just stopped when that happened. It was like, especially for that first month and a half, it's like the only thing was getting up that day and doing whatever you could. Yeah. And it's right there in that moment, kids are around, every families around, friends are helping each other, but you're just doing whatever in that moment. And you're just like, you can't even see out of it. And now it's like, over the last couple of months, I've done more reflecting, like, wow, it's like this much time has gone by. And now it's like, I had conversations with friends and stuff and clients and, family members. It's like, wow, we're almost up on a year on it. Yeah. It's like, sometimes when things happen like that, you just dig in and you don't realize.
The story, the whole boat story is pretty crazy when you sit back and kind of reflect. And in the moment, we're just, it's kind of a survival instinct, and you kind of just, take an inventory after the fact and making sure what's important and what's not. But, just even us having that conversation at KT a year ago to, the whole boat situation, that having something that able to create those moments, even spending time one-on-one with the kiddos and finding that recharge time. And I was listening to Gary V's vlog, that weekly vlog or whatever, and I guess he was in Canes or wherever he was, but they were just showing the highlights, and there was this one AI conversation, and it was just talking about the power of sound and how it can change, mental health and just being able to do that. And I know just my time on the Headspace app and like for me, listening to the waves and stuff at night, but it was just talking about it, and Gary was kind of laughing, right? Just the only thing that Gary can't sleep to is silence. So it's just white noise, just like the humming of the boat. But I know, like for you, just out on the water, just that connection is also the recharge for you. Oh yeah. But even more important, having that boat, which was that in a car, was the only thing that did not get damaged in the entire hurricane. Yeah. And how that opened up so many doors for you in the last 10 months. It's just crazy when you sit back and think about it. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Because we were having that conversation. It was, well, shoot. I remember I was at KT in September, and my wife sent me a screenshot of this hurricane projection for the next week. And I'm like, if that's the first projection is our town, then there's no way it's going to hit it. Yeah. Yeah. And it was a week out. And it's like, one of the conversations we had there was like, I was contemplating selling the boat just because, things were a little tight and stuff. And I'm like, maybe it's a distraction or whatever. And you're like, no, you can't sell the boat. Don't sell the boat. And I wouldn't have had time when I got back anyways, but the decision was made there that wasn't happening. And then, then sure enough, we do get hit with that hurricane. And, my wife's car, was okay. It took us 9 days to move out of our house, and to get my family situated, but she had her car so she could do things with the kids. And then it was like that time drove me mad. Like I knew so many other people needed help too. So, but then, was able to get my boat back into the water. It was fine. And then, just started running people to Sanibel that I knew that they couldn't get, because the road washed away, the bridge, like you couldn't get there any other way. And it's like, I did that for
2.5 weeks, and just spent time out there getting around on bicycles that you found washed up in trees, and just helping people out there, people that I knew, and just the doors that it's opened, you know, uh, just met a ton of people, you know, got invited to one of the people I met out there, got to know, I got invited it was like mid-November down to the Keys to go party on a huge yacht for the weekend.
Yeah.
That he had, and he was flying his helicopter around, taking pictures, driving his go fast boat in the, you know, the Key West races. It was wild, but it's like that wouldn't have come if I hadn't, you know, had that boat and gone out there and helped people. And then, but then just, you know, the business opportunities that are still developing from it too. It's not, you know, I think we're going to get to this year anniversary, and some of these things will have started to come together. And then, you know, another year after that, it's like my business won't look anything like what it did before the storm. It's going to be so much better. And it already is, you know, getting to that point. I can see it happening. And it's just wild.
So where's the lesson in that, right? Because, you know, you weren't the only, you know, person to get hit like that. You weren't the only person probably even in real estate to get hit like that. And yet, you know, being able to come from, you know, how can I help first type of mentality, but you know, I just default back to, you know, the Ryan Holiday, you know, the obstacle is the way. And so finding opportunity even when it doesn't even seem like it's even there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just doing whatever you can in the moment sometimes, you know, and just helping people. It's like, I didn't look at that as like there was opportunity there. I just did that's all I knew what to do. I was like, I'm not going and showing houses right now because nobody knows what's going on. And I know people that have places on the island. Like I know I can help there. And it's like, that was all it was. And it's like just building those relationships. You know, that's where opportunity comes from that. And that's never really the intent. Like I just enjoy building a relationship, but then it's like stuff comes from that.
Right.
You know,
the other thing too, you know, really, you know, you think back from being able to leverage, you know, your past experience of, you know, understanding of construction, understanding, you know, of development, understanding, you know, those aspects. It just like really felt like whatever has happened previous up to this was being hardwired into you, you know, from an experience and knowledge standpoint for where we're at today. And I think a lot of people,
absolutely,
you know, tend to not rely back on past experiences to leverage, to help. It's really the whole, you know, looking outside of the industry that you're currently in applying what's worked there is really where the exponential change and the exponential growth happens versus, you know, just trying to do what everybody's doing within the industry. And I think that's why those big relationships are there, because of your expertise and knowledge and skill outside being able to bring and apply is really where you've gained the trust of those you know, big thinkers, big movers, people that make big decisions.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I think you can look at you know, you go long enough and you're going to have career changes and stuff like that. And like a lot of people go, oh man, I wasn't successful at that. Now I have to learn this new thing. But it's like, I really believe that everything happens to you for some reason, and nothing you did before is a waste. You know, you have that skill. Like I was in development, over 20 years ago, worked for a big developer building things. The economy changed, the developer got foreclosed on. And it's like, there weren't jobs like that available anymore. It's like, man, now what am I going to do? You know, and then it's like, I started a construction company. I didn't love doing it, but it got us by as I was growing my family. And I gained a lot of, you know, skills and knowledge there too, but it didn't succeed because I didn't love doing it. And really, I mean, that business failed. I like, to be totally honest, that's what it was. But now it's like, you know, been full-time in real estate for 7 years. And then having that knowledge and having that, and I've already noticed, like, you know, in the recent year, in the last few years, like where the like if I tap into that experience that I had, that construction knowledge, or, I ran a business for 5 years. Like I knew how to do that. And now it's like, I still have friends that are in that industry that have built hugely successful businesses. And I can speak to them in a different way because I was in that field. And I ran a business, and, and now, like when I was running people to the islands on my boat, like some of those people were insurance experts that, that was a huge education for me, understanding that process. I think we're going to be better off, on our house with our claim because of those relationships. I'm able to help clients through that. Like I've already helped, sell houses that way because I understood that insurance process, where people couldn't think they could sell it because of they had hurricane damage. But it's like all those things come together. I got the respect of the people that I was helping because, I was getting out there, helping them, but they also knew I had that construction knowledge, and they poured into me with their insurance stuff. And, that, I was able to talk to them real estate. Like, it's like it just merged into, all that past, everything I've done for the past 20 years is part of what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
Even though it might not have been the exact same industry.
Yeah, no, it was just even remarkable of understanding how the insurance game works, and being able to sell one of the very first houses in the area that was hit, that still had hurricane damage, that the insurance they hadn't even been able to do anything with it yet you're able still to, because you understand how the whole process works, to be able to to make that transaction possible. And I think that's where you've seen a lot of agents just like kind of throw their hands up and get out of the, move to a different area or focus on a different aspect. It's like the opportunity's still right here, right? You just have to know how to, put all the pieces together.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I mean, and I've helped like investor clients since then buy off market stuff, because they'll be like, I'll find some, or they'll find some but even if they find it, they want me to come in because they know I have that construction background.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, like, if we can do this for this, like, where are we going to end up? And it's like, you're kind of doing like ARVs and stuff. And, but it's all made possible because of all that experience in the last, 20 years.
Yeah. The other thing too, that, is really neat, is knowing, like you said, the off market stuff. And I think, kind of where the market's heading, whatever projections that you're going to see, or heading into the end of the year and into next year, I think being able to make things happen, put things together, the matchmaker kind of process, to me is really valuable. And so, just talk to me a little bit about that piece right there, because like what you were able to do with that big relationship that you have, that was almost kind of testing your knowledge, but being able to know what's available based upon their goals, and knowing how to go look at things and see what's even possible. I think a lot of people don't think that way. And what is that? Is that just that they're not willing to to learn, or they just don't know what they don't know? What is it?
I don't know. I mean, I think, I guess I do know, but, I think that people, I don't know. I think if it's not simple, a lot of times people just won't dig in. It's that whole concept of, layers deeper, just really digging in, some of these big relationships where things are starting to come together on some of those. It's like digging into, like there's a beach area where there's, like, I've got a client that wants a specific waterfront property for a specific use, and it's very limited. And then there's a couple other properties that maybe you could do that with, but it would require zoning changes and things. And it's like, I think a lot of people would look at that and go, well, these are the ones that are available, and that's it. And, this one's not going to happen because of this, and this one's not going to happen because of this. And that's the last one. So if that's not going to work, then it's not going to work. Whereas, like, what I've done is I've gone and I've contacted the town, and I've talked to people there, and I've gone down there and I've looked at the zoning code, and, and what it would take to change it, and where there's some possibilities. And now it's like, well, now in a real estate contract, you can do a due diligence period. You can have a time to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
So now it's like, now you have a contract and you can actually go have a meeting with a town council or something, or a town manager, because like you have a client under contract for that property, and maybe it's 30, 60, 90 days, maybe it's whatever, you have that period, but as an agent, you have that. And it's like, you have to be able to dig into that. And a lot of people just won't do that stuff. They're going to go, if it's not, it's like, like you got Post-its or whatever. And like agents are looking at their leads and they're like, oh, that one's this weekend, let's take that one, and not the one that's 3 weeks out. They're just not gonna, it's like, when you really dig in and you become an expert. And now, like what's happening with those big, like especially this one big relationship, he was getting approached by people constantly because he's very wealthy, and that's just the nature of it. People are always bringing them deals and stuff. And once I really broke this down and showed him, laid it out clearly, these are the areas, there's some possibilities here, maybe not here, but this is what we need to dig into. He goes, we get approached all the time by people. I'm just going to we're going to start sending you everything that they send us, and we want you to evaluate it, and we're going to work with you on it. And so then they started doing that. And then every time they sent me something, I was right on it, evaluating it and getting back to them. And now when people send them stuff, they're saying, Dave is our guy, contact him, and they give him my contact info, and they're calling me and they're sending me stuff. So our other agents are sending me stuff, because I've put myself in a position with this, especially with this one client, where it's like they know that I know what I'm doing, and they're not going to do anything else with anybody. And so when people reach out to them, it's like, Dave's our guy. Yeah. And it took, I've known this dude for like 15 years. It took some time.
Yeah. It doesn't happen overnight. The biggest thing, and this is where I've always, have, especially when it comes to, people that are specific in what their criteria and what their objective is, what they're trying to do, is that you can't sit back and wait for them to bring something to you. You got to go find it and bring it to them. Yeah. That's the difference. And so it takes a lot of understanding and getting clear on what it is that they're trying to accomplish. Help me understand what it is that you're trying to do, so I know what to go find. And I think it's like you said, a lot of agents or a lot of people, I don't know if just lazy, they just, there's maybe a piece of that there. Not willing to put in the effort required to, solve the big problems and the big challenges, the big hurdles. And it's the whole adage, right? When you solve big problems, usually a big paycheck comes along with it. And so that does take some creativity, that does take some digging, that does take, knocking on some doors to kind of help you get the information you need to be able to present to help folks accomplish, the big projects that they're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, right? Sure. Yeah, and it's also, a couple of years ago, it's like, yeah, you could do pretty well with just stuff just coming to you, but it's not that way anymore. And I don't think it's ever been that way with the big problems either. Nobody's ever gonna, wealthy people that are gonna spend millions and millions of dollars or something, that stuff never just comes like to you. You've got to be out there doing something about it. And so, one of the things I did, down there, like on one of these beach areas, is like, I've sold some things there, but I'm not like a lot. I'm not an expert. I started looking up to people that are, and I called and I asked them for, I told them that I had this person, and rather than me try and spend a year down there and learn it, it makes sense to work with somebody like them that's already an expert, and they were like, oh, yeah, love to. And then they're willing to pour into you because you're asking for help. Yeah. That's a big part too. People just don't ask.
No, it may be a fear of rejection, maybe a fear of looking stupid. Maybe, there's, I think several things that block that. But I think the biggest thing is just not knowing. And it is a little bit of that reluctancy, a little bit of fear. And just understanding, we're all human. Just reach out. Just have a conversation, I think is kind of the key component there.
Yeah.
Man, one of the things I really wanted to chat about and and let you kind of share, and I think it's part of the really important piece of really finding, from a contribution standpoint, to be able to give and help within the community. And I know for you, of finding that with Valerie's house. I mean, I would love for you to kind of share that story and what it's meant to you, and really how it's impacted and changed your life and your family's life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I guess it was almost 2 years ago. Really good friend of mine. He owns an insurance company, and he's always put together like awesome fishing tournaments, golf tournaments, whatever. And he said, he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm putting together a new foundation, and we're going to do a new fishing tournament this year, and we're going to benefit Valerie's house." And I knew what Valerie's house was, but I knew kind of what it was a little bit. And I was like, yeah, my friend came to me, he was like, "I'll sponsor it. Let me know what you need." And so sponsored it, went to this fishing tournament, and start, all these volunteers were there from Valerie's house, and Angela, who founded it, was there. And what it is, it's a nonprofit for, it's a grief center, and it focuses on, families that have lost somebody. And it just, so there's groups, and like 5 days a week, there's groups, and, they play sports, they have dinner, and then they sit down in groups for age or whatever it might be, kids that lost a mom or dad, or families that lost a sibling, son, daughter, whatever. But they're able to get into, I don't sit in the adult part. There's moms that come, there's dads that come, and then there's the kids. And so for me, that kind of what tore my heart was like kids like that lost a parent. Like I was at that fishing tournament. It was like, man, I didn't realize how much they did at Valerie's house. And so it just drew me in. And so I talked to a lot of people there about it. And then a couple of days after, it was like on a Friday, Saturday. So it was the next Monday. I contacted Angela. I said, "I'd love to come and meet you and see Valerie's house and see what it's about and see how I could help." I still have both my parents. I've had grandparents die, but they made it a long time. So it wasn't like, that's just normal life stuff. It wasn't like, I haven't experienced that loss, but, having kids, it's something I think about, especially if I travel. It's like, got to get home to them. Just cause, I know it would be hard for, gosh, if I didn't have one of my parents growing up, it would have been hard. And I also know that there's, one of the things I've looked at a lot in the last however many years is like, there's just such a lack of fathers and men and young men's lives. And it's like, gosh, man, if, my son was 11 at the time. It's like, if he didn't have me, or if I didn't have my dad at that age, like it would have been a different path. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, maybe I could get involved and help there, because I knew there was some mentorship opportunities. So I met Angela, and so she saw the house, and so she invited me to bring my wife and just come on a Monday night, bring dessert, bring some cookies, brownies, whatever, play some sports, have dinner with kids, and then when they break into groups, like they would do their thing, and we could leave just so we could experience it. So it was about 2 weeks later, my wife and I went and we did that, and showed up to Valerie's house, and my wife helped serve dinner inside. And I just was out there getting sweaty, playing with these kids, playing soccer, football, whatever they wanted to do. And so then we kept coming back like every Monday for that whole fall, or it was every other Monday. And then my wife and I would go on a date after that. And then, then it was around, I want to say it was like probably, it's like November or December that year, I started mentoring a young kid from there. He's about a year younger than my son. And since then, we, go to hockey games and things like that, or go fishing. And that's something where the boat's been a big thing, is, taking fishing. And he's gotten to know my son a little bit now too, because, my oldest son, he's awesome at fishing, awesome on the boat, and loves to help out and do that. And it's like, the first time we went actually the first time, how it's affected my family, I guess, is like, the first time we went there, you know, my kids never really like, when a babysitter comes, they're like, oh, why do you have to go out tonight? But like, we try to go once a week, do something, but we told them what we were going for. And so they were okay with it. And then the second time we went, when we came home that day, our two oldest kids had found a jar, and they started going around and they were collecting change. And we were like, what's that for? And they said, well, we want to give it to Valerie's house when it's full. And so it's almost full. We're getting there. It has some derailments, but they've seen that, they've seen, and now that, and then so last year, I got really involved in the fishing tournament, and we grew it, and we got it to development that I helped develop, because I was able to talk to them and get them to donate this facility to us. And, it's on a marina, and it just really grew that tournament. Now I'm on that foundation for the, not for Valerie's house, but for Calusa Sportsman Foundation, which is the foundation that was set up to run the tournament. And it's like, we just realized, like, you can do so much in your communities. And so, now as far as Valerie's house is concerned, I'm actually in on the group nights, every other Monday. I'm there, play sports, have dinner with the kids, and then I break into a group with one other volunteer there. And we've got, they're like 10 to 13-year-olds. And so it's like, building relationships with them, building trust, and getting them to open up. And so for these kids to be in groups with other kids, the same age, have lost a mom or a dad, it's a big thing. They can really open up. And it's just been seeing that, aspect. And, for my son to be on a boat with the boy that I mentor from there, and see how grateful he is. It's like, you don't realize, you just don't realize how much you have compared, not to compare, but like things could always be worse. But through Valerie's house, we're trying to make things better for these kids and these families. And, and then through the Sportsman Foundation that we've got. So now I'm on the board for that. And so we did a golf tournament. We raised, $45,000 for first responders, that, firefighters that were, and other first responders that were impacted in the hurricane, that they just gave selflessly, for months after that, and without their needs at home being met. And so there were some people that needed things. And so we raised money for them. And now we're gearing up to do the fishing tournament to raise money for Valerie's house again. And it's going to be bigger and better than ever. It's just been awesome. And then the relationships I built through that, one of my good friends, I got involved in the Calusa. So now he's on the board, and now his wife, we actually, that foundation, we just hired his wife to do, to run the events and things like that. And so it's just been awesome.
That's so cool. It really is. And I know how much of a impact it's had on you, and the growth, that, we find by, contribution and, seeing like the things like you said, really from a gratitude perspective, and then being able to give, and, allowing, your family, and especially, our kiddos to experience that is, it really opens them up. And I think it also, really helps that level of, empathy and self-awareness, and just some of the tougher, softer skills, that sometimes take a while to develop, but being able to, expose our kiddos to that at a younger age, I think it programs them a little different as they continue to grow and head into life for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my dad was injured in Vietnam and was real involved in disabled American veterans when I was growing up. And, he worked for them and was like one of the top guys there. And he always ran the voluntary programs. And as a kid, like, we'd go skiing, and, they'd do like a week sports clinic for teaching, disabled guys how to, ski. And so I got to be exposed to that. Like, my dad wasn't in a wheelchair, but, we had a wheelchair ramp at our house because people would come over, and it's like, got to see that. And so I realized, like, that's not something my kids have ever seen. They'd never been involved in the community and tried to help in any way. So, like, being involved, like starting with Valerie's house, it's definitely giving them something to kind of see it, I think the impact is, is still continuing. But we've seen it already. Like the more involved we are with things like that, you definitely see it. And I think long term for their whole lives, I think it's going to impact them positively. Like at the fishing tournament last year, it was like that Friday before, like we were doing a lot of work, like getting things ready over there, filling buckets for the anglers, and Valerie's house volunteers are there helping us out. And I was like, you know what? My son doesn't need to go to school today. He's going to go there and be a part of that. And the whole day he worked his butt off. Like I've never seen him do that. Like, but he did it for that.
Yeah.
And so this year, like my son and my daughter, they're both going to go help that day.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. That's once a year.
So cool. It really is. It's yeah, just even the jar of, being able to collect and wanting to give. And I think, continuing to keep them exposed to it over time is just as important as well. And so just seeing what that does for them as they continue to grow and develop, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just, even the groups, like some of the activities that we do to help like coping activities for kids. Like I've implemented some of that stuff at home.
Yeah.
It doesn't just have to be for grief, man.
Yeah.
There's sometimes like you mad about something, let's do this coping mechanism. So
just giving tools, right? How to handle and deal with situations and deal with life, right? I think that's
exactly
part of it, not having the right tools to be able to work through and conversate through, through challenging, tough times.
for sure.
Awesome, brother, man. I appreciate you carving out the time, jumping in. And I know it's been an awesome, last couple of years, a lot of challenges, yet, there's always the opportunity, and being able to look for it with that right mindset, I think is everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't kill you, it really does make you stronger if you dive into it.
Yeah.
And it's just growth, man.
That's it. Continue to grow. Awesome, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
See ya.